Let's talk about 5 common mistakes we might be making as we take care of our homes. And this might lead you to making some mindset shifts as we walk into a new year. My goal is to make videos that inspire you to take care of your home with purpose and with joy. I'm a homemaker. I'm a stay-at-home mom. We have 6 kids. My oldest is 18 and in university. My youngest is 4. I've been doing this for a while. And these are 5 things that seem to repeatedly trip me up. I'm not here to tell you that I'm doing everything right and you're doing it wrong. Rather, I do make these mistakes often, and I want to encourage you to do what you can to avoid them. So I'm hoping you can learn from my mistakes. When I take a step back and I think about it, I realize they start with wrong beliefs. It's less about doing the right thing and more about having the right mindset going into it. So let's get started. The first mistake I want to avoid is undervaluing my work. Living in a culture built on consumerism, we tend to think that the value we bring to the world is a monetary one. If I exchange my time for money, then I can exchange that money for goods and services. We need to keep that consumer machine chugging, right? So if you're paid for the work you do, you've provided something of value. But if we do work that is unpaid, that's not really valuable. Or so the cultural narrative tells us. And if the way you fill your time doesn't earn money, it's not an uncommon belief that you must be taking the easy road. Working in your home may not bring in a paycheck, but it is a lot of work. And whether your family is large or small, you have children or not, you live in a large or a small home, homemakers are working hard. They are providing value to their families and to the world. While my work doesn't contribute financially to our family, it does contribute a ton to our quality of life. I have time to focus on the practical aspects of maintaining a home, cleaning, laundry, and meals. I can devote time to keeping up with appointments and regular tasks that are needed in the home in regards to maintenance and upkeep. And making all this a part of what I do frees up a lot of time for my husband to do what he does. And of course, I involve my kids in many of these tasks so that they're learning and becoming equipped for life on their own someday. In addition, we homeschool our younger kids, so that means we don't spend hours in the car to and from school or daycare every day. And I'm at home with my kids teaching them at home. There's consistency in their discipline and their routine. I'm a homemaker, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I've been doing this for 18 years. And even after all this time, I can still feel awkward and insecure when I meet new people and the inevitable question comes up, so what do you do? Because in Western culture, I think women who choose to work in the home and not outside of it are misunderstood. The work we do is undervalued. And then I assume people undervalue my role and undervalue me, which in all likelihood is unfair because they really might not. But in a culture that largely undervalues the role of full-time work in the home, I easily fall into the trap of undervaluing my own work. The second mistake I'm prone to make is believing that anyone could do what I'm doing. Because if you divide up all the work that gets done in a home, you could probably pay someone to do most of this stuff. This is the consumer mindset. I could pay a cleaner to clean my house. I could pay a restaurant to cook our food. I could pay a professional organizer to declutter and organize my house. Someone else could teach our kids. Why am I reinventing the wheel here, homeschooling, when there are teachers in schools that could do this for me? Do I just like making life more difficult for myself? No, that's not it at all. Yes, skilled workers get paid for these kinds of things all the time. But I'm skilled at these things too. And there is something that I bring to the table that no one else could. In my home, no hired professional is going to complete these tasks with the love that I will. I am invested here. And because I'm invested in this place, in these people, I'm invested in serving and loving the people in our home, I'm going to do what needs doing here with more care. Because it matters to me more than it does to someone else who just sees any of this as just a job. For me, it's my calling. I've been called by God to serve my family. My husband, Clay, and I determined what kind of family culture we wanted to build, and we worked together to that end. We wanted our kids to have their mom at home with them. We see in the Bible that we're responsible for our kids, and we take that seriously. And for us, that means me being at home. So in this time and place, I truly believe the most important work I could be doing right now is being right here, doing what I am doing. The third mistake I'm prone to is growing weary of doing good. Something that really gets frustrating for me in all the work that I do is that it seems like everything I do gets undone. I wash the dishes, they get dirty again. I tidy the living room, and the couch fills back up with toys and random papers and prizes from the dentist's office. I clean the bathroom, it gets dirty. I wash bedding, but people keep sleeping in those beds, and those things need to be washed again and again and again. It's like Mr. Incredible when he says,
I just cleaned up this mess. Can we keep it clean for 10 minutes?
You get to that point.
And the funny thing is, I actually really love washing dishes at someone else's house because I can stand back and admire a job well done, and then I can walk away without seeing it get dirty again. But at home, I get tired of doing all the same things over and over again, only to see it all undone not too long after. But when I catch myself thinking like this, it's been really helpful for me to stop what I'm doing and just take a look at this work in a different light. I'm a Christian. I believe that God made us. He made us to work, to be creative, and He has a purpose for each of us to love God and to share His goodness with the world so that they would know Him too. We're told in the Bible that God prepared good works for us, that we would walk in them. And I so appreciate that language of walking in good works. Good works aren't something we dabble in from time to time. It's a daily, one foot in front of the other walk. And we're told elsewhere that in the Bible that we should not grow weary of doing good, which implies that the temptation will be strong to grow weary of doing good. Doing good is tiring. We might want to quit. But we're told not to, because we'll reap a harvest of righteousness if we don't give up. We're being made into people that we were intended to be as we faithfully walk in step with the call that God has for us. This leads into the fourth mistake, giving up when it gets hard. And I'm sure we've all had those moments where we just feel like we have nothing in the tank and we just want to throw in the towel. Thankfully, as many times as I have been tempted to give up, I've never actually followed through on it, at least not in any sort of permanent sense. But no matter what your work is, no matter how much you love it, we probably all have had moments of feeling like we're just done. We're so over it. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to give up. I don't want to show up for this. This isn't what I signed up for. This seemed like a good idea at one point, but there are way too many things standing in my way, and I can't see why it would possibly be a good idea to keep this up. Whether that's a job in the home or working outside the home, we all face obstacles. Work is work. It's hard, but the truth is we were made for work. The difference is that in the beginning, before sin entered the equation, the ground didn't fight against us, but now we are toiling and striving, and sometimes it feels pointless and hopeless. There are seasons when it goes well, but other seasons when it all just feels so pointless. And I guess this comes back to not growing weary, right? But we do get so weary sometimes, don't we? So we have to remind ourselves that there is something greater on the other side of all this difficulty. Because there's hope in Jesus, hardship and struggle will not get the final word. So don't give up when things get hard. Keep pushing on. And the last mistake is trying to please man rather than God. I've talked about this before, but this is really the most important thing I need to remember in my work. I'm not doing this for the praise and applause of other people. The work I set my hands to has very practical implications for my family, my husband and my kids. When I clean and cook, I shop and I tidy, I make plans, I drive kids to appointments and activities. I'm doing it to serve them, But at the end of the day, my work is really in service to God. I've been loved by Him, so I love others out of the love He's given me. In serving others, I'm really serving Him. And I could get indignant about what I deserve, but when it really comes down to it, I deserve judgment from God, and I've received grace. I deserved pain and loneliness because in my sin, I inflicted my own suffering on myself. And yet Jesus stepped in. He took all that upon Himself so that I could receive blessing. He turned my wretchedness into righteousness. I didn't do anything to deserve it. It's all grace. And now I get to work out of that grace. I get to serve because I was served. I get to be a blessing because I've been blessed. I'm not trying to please anyone because I've already been accepted by God. Let me know if you found any of these relatable, and if you would add anything to this list. Just keep going. Your work is important. Don't grow weary. As you've received grace, spread it around. There's enough to go around for everyone and then some. There's a whole lot of good waiting to be done in your sphere of influence. And I think you're just the woman for the job.